Thank you for the reading, and thank you for being so willing. The spirit of Ananda is just so amazing. Jitesh just walked in thinking he was going to attend the satsang and just soak in, and I guess Shamini just like, here, do you want to help? By the way, also welcome to our friends online. We are happy to have you in spirit with us. I remember the first time I walked into an Ananda center, and it was so similar because I walked in, I'd barely done a level 1 class, learned to meditate. Okay. I didn't want to cover the masters, but that's fine. They can probably flow through me. Fingers crossed. So I had just barely done a learn to meditate class, which was in a different venue, not at an Ananda center. And then I walked in way early because I was just really thrilled. So I came like 45 minutes or an hour early to the center, and the center leader was still getting ready or getting the center prepped, and he just said, "Oh, come in, come in." He greeted me and he said, "Would you like to help?" And I said, "Sure. I don't know what I can help with, but sure, I can help." And he said, "Come on." And he took me to this small, tiny room next to the place where the main temple was. And it was a utility room where people would throw their, plates or spoons after the satsang. And it was this big a garbage box. And he said, "Can you please empty this garbage box and take this trash bag?" And he showed me the center was on the first floor, and he said, way down there, you have to go down to the first floor, and that is where you have to trash it. And I grew up in my house where I wasn't allowed to do anything except study and rise and shine with my career. So this was all very new to me. So later a friend remarked, if your parents were to see what you do over here, they would just dig their graves, because I was mopping and cleaning the things. But anyways, I took this really big bag of trash, and I started, very religiously marching down. And I had two feelings in my heart at that moment, or two realizations. One, I've never seen a trash bag this big in my life. It was this big. It's like, wow, like who are these people? Like, and the second was actually more profound. It was more in terms of like, I've also never done something so meaningful in my life. And it wasn't the trash in and of itself. It was more serving the Guru, helping with whatever it is needed. Doing a reading? Sure, I will do it. Lifting the trash? I will do it. Giving the satsang? I will do it. Mopping the floors? I will. As some of you who have taken Kriya, we know what our mantra is. And I went through that I will moment when I was in a meeting with Bharat and Shamini, and we were connecting on the topic. This is not too long ago, like 4 days ago or so. And I said, "Hey, by the way, what's the topic for this Sunday morning satsang?" And Shamini said, "Forgiveness." I said, "Forgiveness?" In my mind, I was like, "Forgiveness? Oh." And my energy went down the spine, because we all have our favorite topics, and then there are topics where we are like, okay, fine, I can talk about it, perhaps. And then I was like, no, but we are taught to be even-minded and cheerful at all times, so here I am. But going on, it made me really reflect, then what is forgiveness all about, or why even bother with forgiveness? And Swamiji and Master had such a knack with words, like the affirmation, I welcome all hurts that I receive. I'm changing a few words, but I welcome all the hurts that I receive. Now, how many of us go on carrying our day-to-day life, I welcome all the hurts that I receive? Not many. It's usually like, I do not want to be hurt. My heart has already been hurt. I don't want to deal with anything more. And then over in the whispers, there were so many things where like my mind was just like, whoa. And there was one line where Master writes, "Teach me to forgive those who most offend me." Most, not just offend me, most offend me. And so why forgive, or where does forgiveness even come into the picture? It's a very, very important tool on the spiritual path for really in a way to be free from our ego even. In what way? Let's see. In Swamiji's book Sadhu Beware, which I highly recommend reading, there's a chapter called Techniques for Ego Transcendence. And at the monastery, we often go through those techniques from time to time, because the goal of the spiritual path is to be free from this little ego and to merge into that infinite divine consciousness. And interestingly, Devarshiji mentioned, head monk, some of you know Naya Swami Devarshiji, he said out of those 33, 31 of the points Swamiji writes about are in our relationship with other people. Now we might think that ego transcendence would be like I sit to meditate and offer myself, which is important, but usually we get triggered or our buttons get pushed in our interactions with people. We can very easily say I'm calm and poised when we are in a closed room with no other people bothering us. But if someone is constantly like, why didn't you do the dishes today? Why are you late today? Or why is that person late today? Or this happened? Or why is there a traffic? It's hard to be even-minded and cheerful, and that is when our buttons get pushed. And like a friend of mine says often, or once at least he told me when I was really agitated with something, and he said, the buttons are being pushed because there are buttons. If there were no buttons, nothing would be pushed. So it's important. Forgiveness, why does it come into the picture? Because in our relationship, in our human relationship, and usually it's not like we get heavily offended with someone passing down the street, but in our little interactions, our hearts get hurt somehow. Someone says a sharp word over here, or just very little tiny things, and it's just like, oh, that didn't feel good. I'll tell a very funny thing because it happened just last night. And I was working on a project and it was very important to me, and I had asked a friend of mine to help on it, and he said yes, I'll help. And just when the time came to get into the project, he said, since this is not as important, I am going on to another project. And I said, not important for you, it's very important to me. But he was right, it wasn't as important in comparison to what he was doing, but my heart was just like, not important? What do you mean? This is important. But again, it's the little things. We all have had situations in life. It's just a little thing, and then it just triggers one thing after the other. This person always does this and always does that. Some of you know Brahmachari Premdas, and we were driving once together, and the fault was on my side, so I can very happily share this story. So we were just driving, and somewhere he did a very silly thing while driving, and I said, Premdas, you always do this. And he just stopped the car, and he very quietly, Premdas being Premdas, he turned to me, he said, always? That was the first time he ever did that. Like, always? Where does this always come from? And something to remember in human relationship, always, never, ever, the superlatives, we always go that way. Always. But again, when we think of forgiveness, it's usually about me forgiving somebody else, but it's also equal on the other side. Like, I've probably done a few things here and there, and if we are sitting in this room and if we are not avatars by now, we probably have some faults going on in our side. So it's fine that we make mistakes, and it's fine to ask for forgiveness in that scenario also. I was once in a situation where I behaved a little inappropriately, because I'm also in this room with you and I have not been fully liberated yet. And it was just, I did it and instantly my heart was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And I'm now probably sharing about forgiveness on how others sometimes can forgiveness from the highest level. We know all of Jesus Christ, and he was, we know what happened. He was put on the cross, and what did he say? He didn't say, I forgive you. He said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. There was no ego, oh, they are hurting me, I am hurt. There was no I am hurt. There was hardly any sense of ego. In fact, Swamiji would often say that it was not he who suffered for himself. It was to the people, for their ignorance, that he suffered. And so, just asking the divine, like, Father, forgive them. So I got into this situation where I behaved inappropriately, and then I was like, okay, I should probably ask for an apology, And I asked this friend of mine who's a very senior acharya, and I said, I'm so sorry, I behaved inappropriately. He said, that's fine. For some people, they need to apologize. In your case, you don't need to apologize. And I really had to wait and meditate. What did he mean about that? And the apology from our side is not necessarily so that he can forgive me. The apology is for us to realize that, oh, I goofed up, I made a mistake, and then to correct it, basically. And so it wasn't like, oh, I am the one forgiving. If there is a tendency of, he did wrong to me and I am the one forgiving, well, there is something off over there. But if we say, no, I'm glad. So if we see other people's mistake when somebody does hurt to us, instead of saying he did this to me, if we can just tune in like Jesus over there, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, seeing their ignorance and how they can be helped. So I love this. Once I was in a conversation with Narayani, and sometimes our minds get judgmental and critical of other people. I don't know about you people, but at least sometimes it happens with me. And she shared something very interesting. She said, whenever there's a critical thought that comes to my mind, I usually end up thinking like, okay, what can I do to help this person? Instead of like, oh, this person did this, what can I do to help this person? So the next time, we feel hurt, oh, why did this happen to me? Or why did this person do this to me? Oh, he was probably hurting himself. He was just in a position where he was in ignorance. He did not know what he was doing. What can I do to help him? Now, not always the person is receptive. Sometimes the person understands and they apologize on their own. Sometimes they do not. But the part of compassion is extremely important. And again, coming back to forgiveness and being hurt, why it's not a great idea to be hurt also, I was feeling. Why? It shuts our heart. If you're just like, no, I'm hurt, this happened to me. Now, in hurts also there are different ways we can feel grief. But Sri Yukteswarji, our beloved Jnana Avatar, who spoke about the natural love of the heart, he said how significant it is to develop the natural love of the heart, that we cannot put one step in front of the other without developing that love. But he also said about meannesses of the heart, those feelings which shut our heart. He speaks of many things. He speaks about shame and fear, but there's one thing he speaks about, which is grief. Now, grief and hurt are not exactly the same, but hurt usually ends up leading to grief. It's just like, and the energy goes down the spine. But then, why is it not a good idea? Why? Because it is a meanness of the heart. It shuts our heart. And does it mean to say that, come on, I welcome every hurt that I receive? No, it doesn't mean that. And does it mean that every time a person hurts us, we say, come, shoot me? No, that's not what we are trying to get into. But, so to forgive is very different from to forget, So yeah, realizing, Rehant is my brother, I can use him as an example. Rehant has a tendency to do things where, he doesn't, I'm just giving as an example. Rehant has a tendency to do things where it hurts me, Now, I can in my heart forgive him, but that doesn't mean I keep letting him do whatever he's doing. Just like, yeah, come, keep hurting me, keep hurting me. We are not trying to be doormats over here. Yes, we have to be strong. Yes, we have to be in our spine. And yes, if the person realizes that he's making a mistake, absolutely move forward. But like in the reading, again, it said that the forgiveness is not for the other person, it is for our own self. I had a phenomenal experience much before I came on the path, and phenomenal because I was so agitated with this. And there was a friend of mine, I was in college, second year of college, and when you're in college, your life is very dramatic. Emotions are at its high, and it's just like, this person did not wish me on my birthday, or this person gave me only this gift, or this didn't happen, this person doesn't like me. There's just too many things that happen. And there was a friend of mine who kind of betrayed me, you could say. He kind of just really hurt my feelings, and I was heartbroken, just and I was not on the path. I was just absolutely had nothing to go by except to be like, oh no, my life, and this is what a college going second year kid can do. And somehow I was traveling through the city, and a completely different city. I was not in my own place, which was down south, and there was this huge hoardings. The first word, it was some commercial residential project, and this project was like, we see these things, especially some of our friends from Mumbai would know that there are these huge 2 BHK and 3 BHK and get this and get that. So a new residential project was being launched in this city, and it said, Guru and the name of my friend. And they were like, every 100 meters there would be this huge hoarding, even though I wanted to forget my friend, not forgive, I wanted to forget my friend. Guru Rehant, Guru, Rehant. And it just every 100 meters we tried. I was fuming, and I was fuming. I was like, and I didn't have master in my kitty then. I hadn't heard about autobiography of a yogi. But if I had known it, I was like, what is wrong with you? Like, I'm trying so hard to forget. But, such is life. Sometimes we try to just like, no, and that comes right in front of us. And then I forgot about it. It took me a few days, a few weeks perhaps, I would say. And then, the heart relaxed and I got on with my life. But somehow some lingering remained. Even after like 3-4 years, I got on well with this friend of mine. But that one memory kind of lingered somehow in my heart. And I was once with Jayaji and I was saying, this friend of mine hurt me, and I think I've forgiven this friend. But sometimes just these hurts come from time to time whenever I recall. He said, you say you're forgiven? I don't think that you've completely forgiven if you still feel that agitation in your heart. I was like, and Jayaji is just like to the point, I don't think you've forgiven the person. Otherwise, why would you feel the hurt? You would rather see why the person acted the way he acted or she acted. And I said, oh, so I'm not forgiven. I thought I was growing spiritually because by this time I had come on the path. I was like, ooh. And then I completely forgot about everything. And one day I was just sitting to meditate and suddenly Guru Rehant holding came into my visual. I was like, that is so strange. Why would that like out of the blue come? And a deep feeling came with that. And he said, it is always the Guru through anybody. And this was the feeling I had. I'm not saying this is what Master was necessarily trying to say, but it is always the Guru which comes to us. So if Rehant is hurting me, it's not Rehant. Rehant doesn't have the power to hurt me. It is probably the Guru trying to teach through him an important lesson for me. Like, what do I have to learn over here? What is Divine Mother trying to teach me? What do I have to change in my own life? Which probably, or maybe the problem is completely over there and not with me, which is also possible. Sometimes those things do happen. But something to offer it to the Guru. Again, Guru comes first over here. And if instead of having this, person relationship, a very personal, like I did this, she did this, he did this, why not have our relationships first with the Divine, feel that love with the Divine first, and then from that Divine awareness, try to love our friends, our family, our brothers, our sisters, our Guru Bhais, our children. And guess what happens? We can love much more afterwards. And I'll just finish with this story. We all know about Swami Sri Yukteswar Ji and Yogananda Ji. There was a time when Yogananda Ji thought that the Himalayas was what was going to give him what? Divine realization. Well, he was an avatar. This is all for us anyways. But he decided to leave his guru. At least he made it look like that for us. And he went and he spent quite a decent amount of time here and there. Looked at, went in search of the sleepless saint, which was also wonderful. He had darshan over there, but the sleepless saint said, it's not for me to give you this divine experience. It's your guru who has to bestow this experience on you. I'm paraphrasing, not exact words. But then after this long time, he enters Sri Yukteswar Ji's ashram. And what does he say? Guruji, I'm here. And Sri Yukteswar Ji is not like, oh, you did this to me, you did that to me, and this happened and that happened. He's just like, oh, get going. They basically got going with their... actually, I have that reading with me. I'll just read it because it's so sweet and beautiful. Okay. This is from chapter 14 in the beginning. I am here, Guruji. My shamefacedness spoke more eloquently for me. Let us go to the kitchen and find something to eat. Sri Yukteswar's manner was as natural as if hours and not days had separated us. Master, I must have disappointed you by my abrupt departure from my duties here. I thought you might be angry. No, of course not, Sri Yukteswar Ji replied. Wrath springs only from thwarted desires. Why do we get hurt sometimes? Because we have a desire. This person needs to act this way and behave so towards me. I do not expect anything from others. So their actions cannot be in opposition to wishes of mine. I would not use you for my own ends. I am happy only in your own true happiness. Isn't that beautiful? Now, yes, we are not Sri Yukteswar to suddenly, forget. we have to be real where we are. But even whatever hurts we feel, that, oh, this happened, if we try to work it out first with them and then probably with the individual, there are better chances that we'll grow in our next step. We'll grow spiritually. We'll learn whatever we need to learn in our next step towards divine realization. God bless you all.